Hi, this is Steve, K8BZ. If you've been following this series of videos, by this time you should be quite an accomplished packet operator using Outpost Packet Message Manager. But we'd like to show you some advanced message creation techniques that can save you a great deal of typing if you're going to be creating messages for an emergency communications network. Most of the time you won't need to type out lengthy, complex messages. And we're going to show you some ways that that can be done using Outpost. First of all, let's assume that we're in IPserial and we're at the command prompt and we're just going to connect to a bulletin board. W8GDW-1, except we need to type the call sign correctly. W8GDW-1. Hence this series of videos for those of us that might have the occasional typing issue. And we'll list the messages. Now the message at the top of the list is a bulletin sent to the category of WX for weather, and it's a flood warning message for Newaygo County, Michigan. That sounds interesting, so let's take a look at that. We're going to read message number 193. And we're receiving this off the bulletin board, and it is current as of today. Flood warning for Newaygo County, an actual NOAA weather warning. Now, we may receive this off another bulletin board and believe that it could be of interest or something that should be available to the people operating in our jurisdiction. So we're just going to take the mouse and start up here where the message is. Now we're going to skip the header and the subject line and the path. That's specific to this bulletin board. So we're just going to skip that, and I'm going to click and drag over this message and highlight the entire message with the mouse. Then I'm going to go up to the Tools menu, and I'm going to go down here to Create Message in Outpost. And I'm going to click that option, and it's going to ask me for a subject line for this message. So I'm going to make the subject flood warning. Flood warning, Newaygo County, and click OK. And then we're going to get a window here that's going to tell us we're in IPserial, the dumb terminal program, and it's going to say message titled Flood Warning, Newaygo County was saved to Outpost draft folder. So we're going to click OK, and I'll just get rid of this highlighted info. Now I'm going to disconnect from this bulletin board using the B command. Now this was taken off the W8GDW-1 bulletin board, but let's assume our packet operation is not on that bulletin board. I just happened to go there on another frequency and caught this message of interest. So let's go to Outpost Packet Message Manager and let's look in the draft folder. Okay, there's a message here that says Flood Warning, Newaygo County. Let's open it and take a look. Now this is our message that we basically copied off IPserial. We just highlighted it and went to the Tools menu and told it to create a draft message in Packet Message Manager. Now I have to tell it, right now it's a private message. We don't want that to be a private message. We're going to make it a bulletin. We're going to make it urgent. And we're going to send it to the category WX. It already has the subject line that we told it to put in it. So now we're going to send the message. Now that's not transmitting yet. If you remember how Outpost Packet Message Manager works, it's no longer in the draft folder. It's in the out tray. Here it is here. Now this is the completed message with all of the information needed to go to the bulletin board. So let's send this message. Now we're going to connect to the actual bulletin board that's identified in Outpost Packet Message Manager, and now this bulletin is being sent to that bulletin board. Just going to move this window down where we can get a better look at it. Now this, as you probably have noticed by now on these long messages, it sends several messages to the TNC, or sends lots of data to the TNC. The TNC divides that up in packets. That the length of the packet is determined by the command set in your TNC called pack length, P-A-C-L-E-N, pack length. The length of the packets can be up to 255 characters. That's the actual information portion of the packet. There's other data in the packet, the addressing and so on. On a real good path, you can have the pack length set at the maximum length, but if the path is iffy, if there's a lot of QRM or there's a lot of activity on the channel, if you reduce the pack length character, or you reduce the pack length parameter in your TNC, the packets will actually get through a little better. Now this actually downloaded our own bulletin, and normally that's what you'd want to do in Outpost Packet Message Manager. Here's our flood warning. It went to the bulletin board, then it re-downloaded it, and it's now in our in tray. Now, as I explained before, one of the reasons we want to download our own bulletins is when the bulletin is no longer important, we can expire the bulletin right from Outpost. So this was just for demonstration purposes of how to create a bulletin message. So we're going to expire that. Expiring it means in our next connect session with the bulletin board, it's going to delete that bulletin. You see now the expire button is shadowed because we've already told Outpost to expire it. And you'll see here it is again. This shows that that bulletin is in red. That's because it was flagged as urgent. This is our next send receive session we're going to simulate. And because we expired it, the first thing it's going to do is kill that bulletin. And there's the command K. It looks like 588. So it's going to kill the bulletin from the bulletin board. And that is a demonstration of how you can select any portion of text from IPserial and cause IPserial to create a draft message with that highlighted portion of text. It'll create a draft message in your draft folder in Outpost Packet Message Manager. Well, let's try another example. Let me put these messages in the archive folder. And we'll go back to IPserial. You can either click on the taskbar. Remember, you can pause this video at any time and open IPserial. You can use the Alt-Tab method or any other method you would like to switch between applications. I use the Alt-Tab method quite a bit. And I'm going to turn the monitor off. And I'm going to do a Control-A and delete to clear the screen. Let's say, for example, you're in a packet network, emergency network. You get a message from the sysop, and he's trying to work out long-distance paths to other locations to automatically forward messages. The sysop may ask you to please report to the sysop all nodes that are heard or available at your location. Well, you could type all that out. First, how are you going to find out what nodes are available? You can use the N command for nodes heard, and it will return a list of nodes. So you could type all that out in a message and send it to him, or using the same example we just used with the flood warning, I'm going to select the node list, go to the Tools menu, and create a message in Outpost, node list. And that sent that to the draft folder. Now the sysop may also ask what stations in general with the digipeater paths are available. Monitor heard long is going to return that. So I can select that, go to the Tools menu, create a message in Outpost. Stations heard list will be the subject. Now if I go back to Outpost Packet Message Manager, I can look in the draft folder, and we have these two draft messages that have been started. You can open these messages, and then indicate who you want to send that message to, and we can put the cursor down at the beginning, and we can add an explanation up here, whatever you would like to add. With the digis involved. And just a quick and easy way to create messages that are needed or requested without having to do a lot of typing. You can imagine if you wanted to provide all this information, it might take you a while to get all of this down in an understandable form in a message. All kinds of ways with Outpost to get this started in messages. We're going to show you a few other ways. And again, don't forget to pause the video occasionally and go practice some of these methods. You can do anything you want here. I'm going to turn the monitor on, and I'm just going to let it run for a while. Monitor on. We'll connect to WB80OC-1. Just list messages. Whatever you find in IPserial that would be helpful to create a message, and I'm just going to, just at random, select just a random assortment here. Create a message in Outpost, random, and that's just how easy it is to create these messages with information in IPserial. Now let's take a look at a couple other ways. Let's go to the in tray, and we're going to create a new message. Now, if you have a file on your computer, a text file, and you would like to put that text file into a message, just go to the message form, click File, the File menu, and go down to Open a File. Now I'm going to go to the desktop where I have a couple of files stored. Here's one, W1AW operating schedule. Now I just double clicked that. That put that text file in the text area of a message. So if you have, let's say you're serving at the EOC, and the emergency manager comes to you and he says, I have a message here, the text of a message that I need you to send somewhere. To Incident Command, to the state EOC, doesn't matter where, but he's got it on a zip drive or a thumb drive, and he wants you to incorporate that into a message. Now you could stick that zip drive in a USB port, open the file, and hand type that text file into a message, or you could stick it in a USB port, open the file from the new packet message window, and it will automatically insert that file content into the message window. Saves you a lot of time typing. It maintains the column formats for you, and can create a message quite quickly for you. Another way you can do it is just using the copy and paste method. Let me close this. Now that was the W1AW operating schedule. I'm just going to minimize these, and we're going to go find this other file. ISS passes. Now these aren't necessarily examples of messages that you would typically send, but they're examples of the complexity of messages that you may be asked to send. These are the satellite passes for the International Space Station over the next 4 days that have a minimum elevation of 20 degrees. This file was created from a satellite tracking program called Orbitron. Not really going to do an Orbitron instructional here, but you can go to Orbitron and select the satellite of interest. In this case, it's the International Space Station. Run predictions and save that prediction list to a file. And just as an example of things that can be created, someone may have this saved on a zip drive and ask you to send it as a message. And basically you can just do a Control-A, copy the entire contents of that text file with a Control-C. Control-A will select all of the contents of a text file. Control-A will copy it. We can go back to Outpost Packet Message Manager, and we'll begin a new message. I'm going to click down in the text area, do a Control-V, which is the shortcut to paste, and there's your file. And you'll notice how it actually maintains the column spacing, gives you the date and time of the satellite pass and the azimuth and elevation bearings for the maximum elevation of that satellite. And this one is going to be 66 degrees. In that pass, I asked for to not list any satellite passes where the elevation is going to be less than 20 degrees. So all of these elevations are going to be at maximum elevations. Oop, there's one that's 10. No, I guess I said 10 degrees, not 20. So anyway, that can create quite a complex message just by copying the complex content from a text file and pasting it into the message area of a message form. We'll show another example of that. Let me close this. Yes, we really want to quit. There's something available on the web called the Emergency Response Guide 2012 for Windows. Now, most emergency communicators that have spent some time training for RACES activations probably have a printed copy of this guide that was provided to them by the county emergency manager. This has all of the cataloged dangerous substances that could be transported, all the tank placard names and definitions for tanker transport vehicles and so on. And it also tells what a lot of emergency information when responding to a spill, for example, for a particular type of substance. All of the substances here are listed in this column, and as you can see, when I start to scroll, this scroll bar does not move very fast. There are a lot of substances listed in this. Now, the Windows version of this is very handy. It's a lot easier if someone says, oh my gosh, we've got a chlorine spill. When you start typing the name of the substance, it narrows the list down to all possible matches. So let's say it's a chlorine dioxide hydrate frozen. I'm going to click on that, and it brings up all of the emergency response guidelines over here for that substance. So if that information needs to be sent in a message somewhere via packet, you can imagine having to print or switch from one window to another to look at this information, type the information, and send it. Basically all I did was go up here, put the cursor at the beginning, held the left mouse button down, and just drug the mouse over that area to highlight the area that I want to copy. Point at any of the area that's highlighted and do a right click and copy it. And then go back to Outpost Packet Message Manager, create a new message and do a Control-V, the shortcut for paste, or I can do a right click in the message area and just paste. I can select paste, or the shortcut is Control-V, and it pastes all that information in this packet message. And the advantages here are obvious and tremendous. The time saving in doing this, I didn't do any typing. All I did was use the mouse to create this message. I know it's 100% accurate because it's copied right out of the emergency response guide verbatim and pasted into the message. I don't have to worry about typos, misinterpretation of the information, or any of that. It's pasted in here in a very quick operation, and it can be all set to send by just filling in the few remaining areas here, who the message is to and what the subject of the message is. And you click send, and it's ready to go. So those are just some of the other ways to start complicated messages in Outpost Packet Message Manager. Copy and paste. You can create a message from IPserial by selecting the portion you want to have in the message, and go down here and create a message in Outpost. Put in a subject, and I'll just hit a few keys there to give it some information. That's one method. Another method is copy and paste, and the final method is just open a file from Outpost, from the packet message creation window. You can open any text file. So there's lots of ways you can generate messages. Now we're going to take a look at another one final option here. Now let's say for example you're working at the emergency shelter, and part of the responsibility of that shelter is to keep track of who is in the shelter. You may do that with a database program. It can be done with a spreadsheet, can be done with Excel. Database programs work great for that because you can sort them by name, you can sort them by, you can filter them, where you can't do this in a text file. Let's say we want to find everyone in the shelter whose home address is Gladwin. So we already have that saved in a filter. We can apply the filter and it will give you that list. It has tools, most database programs, to go back and show all the record. Let's take a look at another one. We want to see, let's say we have 300 people in this list. Do we have anyone named Johnson? Well, we do. Johnson from Byron Center, Michigan. Now these are fictitious names and I didn't put the full address. It's just to show you how this can work. Now this is not to show you how database programs work. This is to show you how other applications work very well with Outpost. So let's again say the EOC wants a list of all the names of people from Gladwin that are housed in the shelter. Okay, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select the city is equal to Gladwin, and the database program will give you that list. I'm going to select that list, do a Control-C and copy it. Go back to Outpost, create a new message, and in the text area I'm going to paste that list. Now the columns get a little messed up here, but I can go up here easily and clean them up just by hitting the tab in front of those to arrange the columns in a more orderly fashion. And I can send that, and then in response to the EOC's request, you can have a list of all of the people in the shelter that are from Gladwin. Now, in an actual list, it would probably also contain first names and addresses and maybe other contact information and phone numbers. But that could just be copied off your database and pasted. So other applications that are needed to be used in a shelter or incident command or the emergency operations center work very well with Outpost. Everything from the emergency response guide to spreadsheets to databases to text files, even web pages. Let's take a look here. I'm going to open up an internet browser and I have the internet browser on another screen right now, but let's just say I'm going to drag this over to this monitor. I just did one search just for emergency response information. Let's say you find something on the internet that would be helpful. And of course it has to be running slow right now. There we go. So you get to an internet page, and it doesn't matter. If it's something that needs to be used in a message, you can drag a mouse across whatever the data is in an internet page, do a right click and copy it. Go to Outpost Packet Message Manager, create a new message, and paste that information directly in the message, right off the web page. So copy and paste is a huge tool to use for creating messages in Outpost, and any digital program for that matter. But many ham radio operators may not be the most proficient typists in the world, and they may be reluctant to get involved in an emergency digital communications network because they are a little uneasy about their typing skills. But even people with poor typing skills can learn to copy and paste and open files just using the mouse with very few keystrokes at all involved. There may be a little bit that will be necessary filling in some of the fields, like the to field and the subject field, and maybe a few lines at the beginning of what they copy and paste for an explanation, but very, very little in that way, in that regard, needed to use these features in Outpost. So, with that, we will conclude our advanced message creation presentation. And as always, if you have any questions or problems, please feel free to email me at k8bz@arrl.net, and we will work together to resolve any issues you may have. Thank you.